Last topic would be the panel discussion on the crucial role of CFOs in managing business crisis and turnarounds, navigating uncertainty with the agility and strategic leadership. To moderate this panel, I would once again like to call upon stage Mr. Sushil Tanwar. Everybody, can we have a big round of applause? And I would request you to please introduce our other panelists for the panel discussion.
Thanks, Zoya. And I'd like to invite Mr. Umesh Rathi, who is the country CFO for AdTech Group. Umesh. I know this is the last session of the day, but I would expect a more warm welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Aditya Chamaria, who is the CFO for Group Bimbo. Aditya. Our next speaker is Suparna Bhattacharya, who is the CFO for Horiba. Mr. Abhineet Shukla, CFO for Health Steels Limited. And last but not the least, Achal Modi, who is the head of finance for Upscale Business Oil Rooms. Please settle down, ladies and gentlemen. All right, this is the last session of the day, and I'm assuring each one of you that it's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of interaction, and a lot of insightful information that each one of you are going to get. Okay, so guys, the topic that we are going to discuss today is the critical role of a CFO in managing business crises and turnarounds, navigating with a lot of agility and strategic leadership. This session is for the CFOs, so I would like to start with the expansion of the term CFO. This is definitely not what I'm expecting to hear from you, what we all know, but I wanted to hear something more exciting in the context of the session that we are having. CFO means crisis-free organization. That's what I wanted to hear, because that goes to what we are going to talk about in this session. So we got five great speakers who are very senior in the industry. In total, we got maybe on an average basis 20 years of experience, so it's like 100 years of experience right in front of you. So it's a lot of experience. It's much better than reading 5-6 books. I think that's probably the best way to put it together. So in the context of the topic that we are going to talk about, my first question will be to Suparna, to you, who is our lady speaker as well. So let's start with the lady. How do you define crisis and turnaround? I just wanted to ensure that we start by understanding the term better, Suparna. So what's your perspective on crisis and turnaround?
All right, thank you, Sushil, and very, very good afternoon to all of you. And I'm sure it's been a long day, but definitely you will get some insights from this panel. Well, firstly, let me tell Sushil, you first put me into a crisis. And before this panel discussion, he said that you have to answer this question in 60 seconds. So crisis and turnaround, answering this in 60 seconds itself puts me in a big crisis. So, and definitely I'll not take much time, but definitely we all know the dictionary meaning of crisis. But I would really say that in our business parlance, the business situation is very dynamic. I will say every day is a crisis, holding on to the business, the customers, the value that we can give to customers, and as a finance function, what value we can give to the business to drive it. Having said that, it's very important for us to, give the right kind of support when a difficult situation arises. And when I say crisis, it does not only mean settlement of the problem, it also means that we have to have a solution and give a solution that the problem doesn't occur. So having said that, the crisis and the support to business, making sure that the problem doesn't arise in future is what I call a turnaround. And I think in 60 seconds that has made a little sense to all of you. Thank you very much.
More than sufficient, Suparna. So not only solving the problem for today, but also for future, so that it doesn't appear. At least not the same problem. All right, that's a good perspective, Suparna. Thank you very much. With that, let me move to Aditya. Aditya, why do you think CFO is the most suited to handle crisis and turnaround situation?
Uh, well, it's just not about CFO itself, but it's about doing justice to the problem. And I guess being a business finance guy, we understand how to look inward and outward. So for me, why I believe that we as a fraternity can do a very good job is that to behave like a catalyst. You know, a catalyst has a different role play. Sometimes it accelerates the speed, sometimes it moderates the speed. So in the time of crisis, it's very important that how do we do the balancing act from both the side. It's critical to call, to define an elephant first. And so for defining an elephant, it's really important that how do we really, do a justice for defining what the crisis is, which means that we need to be hopeful most of the time, but optimistically, cautious, and in fact, drawing the canvas saying that what could go worse from this stage, which is predicting the future and, analyzing the numbers. So perhaps if I give an example, I joined an organization on 1st April 2022, which was, 2020, which was just the starting of the COVID, and there was no cash flow at all. So the crisis immediately was to forecast the cash flow. So I guess, that's where it comes across, that how you are able to look the inward strength, the outward outlook, and probably doing a, a weighted balance to it. So not being just a business guy who are always very optimistic. I think finance fraternity are able to do a very good job in terms of balancing, hoping for the best, but preparing for the worst.
Thanks, Aditya. That's a good perspective. Hoping for the best and prepare for the worst, probably. That's the key message from Aditya, but very well said. Abhineet, I'll come to you. In your opinion, how has the role of CFOs evolved in recent years, especially in the context of the topic that we are discussing about managing business crisis and turnarounds? So what's your perspective?
Yeah, thank you, Sushil. I start from your quote, as you mentioned that your wife is saying that never marry a CFO. So going back to last decade, no wife say that. So today we are marrying to a business. So role of CFO as a very widened. He has to close Berkeley with board, with the CEO and external and internal stakeholder also. He have to involve in every strategic decision of a business. He is not more merely a financial accountant. He is a strategic business business leader. He have to cope up with all business risk relating to strategy, relating to liquidity, relating to financial risk, and more there are more risk relating to compliance, relating to environment. See, he has to cope up with all these business, and his responsibilities are higher than any professional in the organization. He has a wider role than even I would say same at the same role like CEO of the organization. So this role has been more responsible in any organization. And although we have discussed the various AI technologies and various tools, he have to act as a vigilance officer also, because we are nowadays we are experienced that beta level are also in reducing in various organization. Cash flow challenges are also there. Apart from that, there are also liquidity risks, since finance cost has also risen up. This is also a risk of organization. So as a business leader, CFO has to cope up all these risks in a various strategic way. Thank you.
Thanks, Abhineet. That was very, very useful. Quickly changing the gears and moving to Umesh. Umesh, I'm curious to know, in your opinion, how does a CFO should balance short-term and long-term priorities while managing crisis and turnaround situation. What's your perspective on that?
Yeah. My voice is audible? Yeah, okay. No, that's a very interesting question, and I guess many of us have faced this challenge when we had COVID situation, right? It started as a health emergency and soon it became a financial crisis as well, right? And all of the CFO were expected to lead and navigate that difficult situation. Now, I just tell you my thought process and some of those things I applied during that phase for my organization. And I can say that when I look back in hindsight, I felt that those were the right things we have done as an organization. First is, so these are some of my guiding principles, you can say. First is cash is king. Whenever there is a crisis, you have to manage cash. Now, whether it is the working capital, which you have to make sure that you optimally use, or manage or control large capex spend. At times you have to delay your capex when there's not much happening in terms of economic activities, your demand have reduced. You also have to reduce your capex investments in particular. Third is obviously manage your cost, discretionary expenses. So all of these things basically help you to stay afloat, make sure that you are able to meet your obligations. Also, if you have long-term debts in your books or short-term debts in your books, you have to restructure some of those as well. So some of these things you have to keep in mind as you start keeping a tight control on cash. That's one. Second is, I think we should avoid knee-jerk reaction. Very often we start thinking, oh, business will not come back. Remember, India is 1.6 billion, 4 billion people, and it's a domestic consumption market. And in the past, we have also seen we really bounce back. So which means that you may take some tough measures, but you should always keep in mind that market will come back, industry will come back, right? So I would like to avoid, for example, mass layoff, unless it is really required. You have to balance things. You have to look at the bigger implication or the long-term implication before taking those decisions. So for me, those are like last options. First, you start looking at all other soft measures or all other possible avenues where how you can sort of control, these situations. At the same time, I think it is very important for us to be positive in mindset. Still do not miss any opportunity to grow, whether in short term or in long run. So as an organization, we start focusing on those projects which gives you, bigger ROI, but more importantly, where probability of realizing is higher, and also you can, from the timing point of view, you are also very confident. So start prioritizing those investments for the future. Obviously, you cannot do everything when you are in this situation, but don't look at that perspective, because in the long run, this is help you to grow. This will help you to retain your market share. Another interesting insight I would like to share is, you see, you would have all probably experienced in your organization or otherwise cyber attacks, Now, one of the first reaction of, at times of finance head or, people who are controlling costs, oh, let's cut IT budget, let's delay. I think we need to be very careful. Cyber security, you have seen the risk has increased 4x in last 5 years. And many of the big and large organizations have affected. Now, do not, just without applying your mind, cut those kind of investment which could have serious implication in the future. So, in summary, what I would like to say, think carefully. What are the things you would like to, as Aditya said, slow down? What are things you would like to continue to invest? And make sure that then you align with all key stakeholders, because everyone is looking at CFO to, guide, I would say, rather difficult situation. Yeah.
Thank you, Umesh. That is very, very relevant. Cash is king, I really like. We would have heard 1,000 times, but that's the key. Start with the low-lying fruit and then climb up the tree. That's probably another message which Umesh shared. That was very insightful. And even while going through the crisis, do not postpone the important investments. That's going to be important bets for the future from the business perspective that we must keep in mind always. Moving to Achal, to you. Can you share a specific example of some successful turnarounds where you played a critical role? in reshaping the financial health of a company. Probably that's something that we can learn from you.
Thanks, Sushil. So, so when I joined an organization in COVID times, specifically in e-commerce, food and FMCG business. So while the world was kind of coming closer and businesses were moving away, but this specifically this vertical of food and FMCG was growing rapidly. So at that time, everyone was talking about the business GMV, but nobody was talking about the correct unit economics. So as finance leader, it was the role to show the correct lens to business of how to see numbers, how to see whether it's making unit economic sense, or whether it's actually CM lucrative or it's a CM burn. So that ways, that decision, that lens, kind of helped business to think in that way. It was a change management also at that point of time, because you come across as an evil, telling people of different lens. But that sailed through. Business agreed to that, and though we lost inefficient GMV, but it was CM lucrative, we made positive contribution. So that was appreciated by all. So it's about kind of cracking the right balance between growth and profitability. How do you do that? How do you align your stakeholders? How do you manage your business? How do you manage your counterparts? And yield to a successful organizational goal.
Thank you, Achal. Profitable growth. That's the conundrum which we all try to solve all the time. How do we grow profitably? Thanks, Achal. Moving back to you, Suparna. In your opinion, how can CFOs build and maintain strong relationships with external stakeholders such as investors, bankers, creditors, regulatory bodies to support the turnaround efforts? What's your perspective on that?
Okay, I personally believe in a 50-50 mantra, and the 50-50 mantra says that 50% online work at office where you're in front of your computer and doing your data crunching, analysis, numbers, forecasting, budgeting, etc. And the other 50% has to be in your relationship building. And when I say relationship building, it means the team which is not in the same location, extended teams, business teams, not only at the top with the business heads as CFOs, even going one step below to understand what the business needs. And the same kind of a personal connect needs to be established with the stakeholders of business, and it means the investors, the creditors, customers, vendors, bankers, anybody and everybody, because during crisis, it is not that at that point of time you go and ask for support and somebody steps up. The possibility is rare. However, if you invest your time in building relationships, it so happens that whenever you're in crisis, somebody steps up and comes and helps you. Because business is again dynamic, firefighting, customer needs are very different, very demanding. So we have to have a chain where we can have our systems, processes evolved, as well as a nice support system created who can always step up as per needs of the business. So to all budding finance professionals in this room, 50-50 is the mantra for today, and only then can you really value add and contribute during the times that the business really requires support from the finance function. So, please invest time in building relationships. And also, it's not that you are only the beneficiary or the taker in this. What happens, sometimes it so happens a vendor of yours might be requesting a payment, but the payment terms is 30 days. You just take internal approvals, but step up to help that vendor in case he requires money. If cash flow with me is not a problem and my vendor is in crisis and it's a 30 days payment term, but he requires in 20 days, do that little bit. A small finance cost will not really impact your P&L as much as when you are in crisis and the vendor can do anything and everything to help you. So that's my message to everyone. You sow as you reap, so maybe sometimes you have to take the first step, but then it often comes back in multiples to you. So that's my message for everyone.
Thank you, Suparna. That's 50-50 resonates with me really well. And that's my key takeaway for the day for sure. And relationship is the key thing. I think that's probably the number one reason that most of us have come here. So very well said, Suparna. Aditya, coming back to you. In your opinion, how can CFOs leverage financial forecasting and scenario planning to prepare for future crises and mitigate the risk proactively?
Oh, okay, good. So, well, I would say that I would like to start with a statement which is very close to me. And, in the initial phases of the life, we do, things right. But as a leadership, as a CFO, what really matters that are you doing right things? Which means that, in the crisis situation, it's really critical to define the black swan. And to define a black swan, it's all about something which people have not seen. And if we would have already seen that black swan, I'm sure we would not have let it come in, right? There are external environments, there are internal environments as well. So for me, what will be critical is that to define that the elephant in the room, the black swan, and perhaps I would follow the 4 or the 5, P's for it. First is to predict the future. Second is to plan that how do you want to maneuver the way. The third is to prepare for it. 4 is perform. And very critical, the 5th is the post-action. Post-action is basically the post-evaluations of whatever you have planned has really worked or not. So we all know about the risk heat matrix and so on. So I'll not got into the financial jugglery to explain. I guess we all understand that of preparing the risk heat matrix and the risk chain managements and so on. But what really likes is that how are you remaining cool, composite, working on this 5 P's part of it, and very critical to follow, a phrase which says that you never measure the depth of the water with both legs. So you need to know that what risk you are signing off for, and if it is not working, learn fast, fail fast, but know exactly where to draw the line.
Thank you, Aditya. That was very, very useful. I'll move to Abhineet and Umesh. I'm going to ask you the same question, but start with you, Abhineet, for sure. The question is, as the role of CFOs continue to evolve, what skills and competencies are becoming critical for a CFO to manage crisis and successful turnarounds?
So role of CFO is very critical as explained by various panelists. And Suparna has explained that internal and external stakeholder relationship is very, very much important. Important with your bankers, your customer, your vendors. Your vendor may be down, your customer, there is a risk that they are not paying in time. Sometimes they are in since finance costs are also increasing, they might have some working capital changes, working capital requirement. So these are basic risks. As a leader, as a CFO should be, firstly, he's a strategic thinker. He should work on a financial and organization, long-term and short-term strategy of the organization. Since the business, there is a lot of risk in business, internal and external risk. And moreover, the margins, contribution margin, EBITDA and PAT level, this is also challenge. New entrants are also coming into the business. So there are a lot of qualities that require for any CFO. He should have a leadership quality. He may be analytical to have analytical power. Apart from that, he should have a quick decision maker. That is also very, very important. Sometimes you have to take decision in seconds also, because marketing is very dynamic. Since I am working in a steel companies, since you have also experienced that in the last 2 months, what is happening to the steel companies? Prices are very much means changing day by day, and there is a lot of risk relating to inventory, relating to data, relating to cash management, cash flow. There are a lot of risk. So as a CEO, you should able to capitalize and should be quick vision about the leader, but your peers are doing. What is their financial, what strategy they are approaching, and whether they are going to a new business. And you have to be very take a quick action on the not only your strategy, but looking after the strategies of your peers. That is also very, very important. So CFO role is changed in a very vital way, and as a CFO, you have, it is a 24 into 365 days working, and you have to strategic as a leader. Only then your organization can survive. Thank you.
Thanks, Avinit. Umesh, what's your perspective on the same question?
I'll keep it simple. Um, I say there are 3 C's you have to keep in mind. First is communication. This is a time when there is a crisis, you have to communicate more often and with wider stakeholders, whether internal, external. So, sharing what's happening, how you're aligning on key points, strategies, and so on and so forth. So communication becomes very critical. Second is collaboration. Now, obviously, when there is a crisis, you need to collaborate with various stakeholders and decision makers to take certain actions and so on and so forth. So the collaboration becomes equally important. Third is the credibility. When CFO shares certain information, share certain perspective, help to navigate the decision, it should be credible. People in the organization should rely, and they should be able to trust. So these are the 3 C's I would sort of reinforce, during the crisis. If these are being managed properly, I think you can put across your point of view effectively.
Thanks, Umesh. That was a nice framework, communication, collaboration. Very, very interesting thing. All right, changing the gear, moving to the last phase of this panel discussion. And I've got one question which I'm going to ask to each one of you very quickly. And the question is, let's imagine a hypothetical situation, a genie appears here, and then as a CFO in this kind of tough situation where you are tackling crisis and turnaround situation, what would be the wish that you would ask to that genie in your role as a CFO so that you can come out with flying colors? So, Achal, let me start with you.
So the one which would be a quick alignment with all the relevant stakeholders, because in quick turnaround situations, there would be an organizational KRA to drive, but at the same time, there would be individual leaders KRA. So in quick turnaround situations, a lot of bold decisions would be taken. So that way, a lot of KRAs of individuals would get compromised. So how do the genie kind of comes and kind of aligns everyone to one organizational decision that will really help a CFO. So as a CFO, it's your role to kind of become a collaborative decision maker, taking all the stakeholders together and drive towards an organizational goal rather than an individual KRA goal of a particular business leader or a vertical leader.
Thanks, Achal. Suparna?
Beyond what is immediately or visible to you in terms of your numbers, or what is coming in terms of projections, or what is happening in business, very important is to have a foresight, because business normally is short-sighted. We as finance professionals need to have that skill, and I would definitely tell my genie to give me that skill to think beyond, which probably nobody is doing in the organization. So we all need to, align our thought process in such a way that we are able to think long-term beyond, because business will think short-term, somebody has to think long-term. So I would really want that skill as a CFO.
Thank you, Suparna. Very well said. I'll move to Aditya.
Well, considering the situation we are into, I would actually wish that how do we ensure as an organization we avoid a further derailment. uh, which means that what is immediately tactical and which doesn't compromise the long-term strategy, so that you can always accelerate the pace, but a derailment and then getting on the track itself takes you a long, long setback. So avoiding the derailment and taking a call to ensure the immediate requirements, ensuring a long-term strategy is not getting diluted would be my wish.
Thanks, Aditya. How about you, Umesh? What do you think about this?
Yeah. See, of late, you are seeing there are so many changes happening, right? Now, I think our CFO role in that sense have changed dramatically. See, earlier we were very internal focused, meaning very specific to what's happening in our company, what's happening in, in the organization and the business, so on and so forth. But today, most of the impact is coming from outside, whether it is geopolitical situation, COVID, tensions between various countries, supply chain constraints, foreign currency issues, and so on and so forth. Now that is where, as a CFO, you need to be aware and better understand the environment outside and how that is impacting your organization. So if you are able to articulate that and also sort of predict, then I think you're preparing your organization in far better way to sort of navigate that situation as and when that arises, and rather convert that into a competitive advantage.
Thanks, Umesh. That was pretty insightful. Avinit, you want to share your perspective on this?
Yeah. Firstly, you should be cop up with the organization goal, organization long-term and short-term goal. Apart from that, you have to act very speedy, and you should be aligned with the internal and external stakeholder. And moreover, since he has explained that there are internal risk factors are also like COVID, any bar situation, Ukraine and Russia bar, these are examples. So you have to take decision very quickly to survive in this type of situation.
Thanks, Abhinit, and great session overall. I think the time is up, so we have to close it. Otherwise, I'm sure I would have given some opportunity to the audience to ask some questions. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, very much for your time. I'm sure everybody would have enjoyed it thoroughly. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Requesting everyone to please come for the group photograph. Everyone, can we have a big round of applause, please? Thank you. Requesting you all to please be with us on the stage. Now I would like to call upon stage Mr. Manish Sabarwal, Managing Director, Transaction Advisory at Next Time, to please be on the stage and felicitate our panelists. Can we have a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Requesting you to please felicitate Mr. Umesh Rathi. Thank you. Thank you so much. Requesting you to please now felicitate Mr. Aditya. Thank you so much. Now requesting you to please felicitate Mr. Achal Modi. Thank you. And now requesting you to please felicitate Ms. Suparna. Lastly, please felicitate Mr. Abhineet.